Good morning, and welcome to the Canadian Hydrogen Convention. My name is Chris McLeod, and I'm with Edmonton Global. We're here today as part of the Edmonton Region Hydrogen Hub exhibit, again at the Canadian Hydrogen Convention, the first hydrogen convention in Canada, North America's largest convention on hydrogen, and this is year one of what will be a 10-year event. Thanks so much for joining our live stream. We'll be online all morning. We'll take a little break over lunch, be back for the afternoon, both today and tomorrow. We're kicking off our live events with a big announcement with AMTA and Chris Nash, who's their CEO. Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Chris. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Alberta Motor Transport Association, the Board of Directors and staff, we thank everyone at Edmonton Global and DMG for putting on this event today. I'd also like to thank my fellow presenters, Laura Guzman, Director of Government Affairs and Partnerships with Hydra Energy, and Philip Garriston with Nikola Corporation. So I appreciate you taking the time out to share your thoughts with us this morning. The AMTA is honored to be a part of this convention, and I appreciate the opportunity to share some words on behalf of the association. Before I do, I must acknowledge that we're on the traditional Treaty 6 territory of Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. This was the home of the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta, Regions 2, 3, and 4, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. Since 1938, the Alberta Motor Transport Association, also known as the AMTA, has been the voice, the standard, and the resource for the commercial transportation industry in Alberta, advancing its members and interests through its safety programs, progressive policy, and strategic direction. As we know, our world is changing rapidly, and continually, the commercial transportation industry is no exception. We realize that innovation is far outpacing implementation, so to be on top in the forefront of this is very exciting. As modern technologies specific to our industry are advancing quickly, it's critical that we adapt and adjust accordingly. The need to keep pace with ever-evolving technologies in the commercial transportation industry requires a collaborative approach with our partners. And indeed, collaboration is one of our core values at the association. The AMTA works closely with governments, industries, and other stakeholders to identify and research opportunities to propose and implement data-driven solutions that help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Such efforts create a greener future for all. We work together to achieve Canada's goal of reaching net zero by 2050. Thanks to the generous support of the federal government and in collaboration with our valued project partners, AMTA has launched a new exciting initiative. In partnership with Hyzon Motors, Hydra Energy, and the Nikola Corporation, AMTA is leading the way, providing Canada's first heavy-duty alternative fuel demonstration. This project will include commercial carriers to go with Class 8 trucks, 33,000 pounds or more, that operate with alternative energy-efficient fuels that will provide them with opportunities to trial these vehicles using their own logistics. This 2-year project, the first of its kind in Alberta, will pilot 3 heavy-duty hydrogen vehicles developed with our project partners. So with Hydra Energy, a dual-fuel truck is going to be retrofitting existing vehicles will run between April 2022 and March 2024. Hyzon Energy hydrogen truck will be July 2022 to March 2023. And the Nikola Corporation truck, April 2023 to March 2024. The program includes developing and delivering programs, training, and tools for drivers, first responders, and other stakeholders. When new technology comes into the world of transportation, the education required, the understanding required, all of that is where we have all the stakeholders at the table to be able to understand. Imagine being a first on scene if you're a first responder to a hydrogen vehicle. How do you react? All of those things are the things that are being considered when we look at this technology. Commercial drivers will gain knowledge and experience in sustainable vehicle technologies, fuel safety, and other operational efficiencies. The demonstrations will enhance a driver's operations support to their day-to-day business and help attract and retain people to the commercial transportation industry. This project will increase awareness for the commercial transportation industry and the motoring public alike about zero emissions and the value of using low to zero emission vehicles. These demonstrations will facilitate many other significant benefits, including advancing net zero mobility, providing commercial drivers with the hydrogen technology experiences, supporting road safety, providing critical performance data to develop and advance vehicle policies and regulations. It's reducing risks associated with the hydrogen adoption and highlighting hydrogen to all three levels of government, as well as to our industry, stakeholders, and the broader community. Additionally, the demonstrations will support Canada's clean energy transition and advance its hydrogen economy, which in turn will create jobs, spur foreign investment, and increase public awareness to the broader community. Additionally, the demonstration will support Canada's clean energy transition. There's many reasons why the commercial transportation industry should consider hydrogen as a fuel source. It's a pathway to reaching zero emissions. It enhances commercial vehicle performance in many ways. When you look at torque and acceleration, extends driving ranges, lower maintenance costs. It's similar to fueling a diesel, and it helps drive economic development. As I've highlighted this morning, these hydrogen vehicle demonstrations will provide tangible benefits to the commercial transportation industry and to all Canadians. As well, the project will identify AMTA as a leader in data analytics, safety education, membership growth and engagement, and innovation. This important work can only be conducted thanks to the generous support of government, our project partners, and the countless hardworking men and women of our industry, those who take pride in the safe, efficient transport of essentials for Albertans and Canadians. So to learn more about the vehicle demonstrations, the AMTA, and many other projects ongoing, and the critical work our association does on behalf of its members, please visit amta.ca. So thank you everyone for being here this morning. And with that, I would like to introduce our project partners. So first, I'd like to introduce Laura Guzman, Director of Government Affairs Partnerships with Hydra Energy.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. Thank you. We're really excited for this opportunity to work with AMTA. We initiated work with them in 2021. And we're really excited for the opportunity to bring Hydra's technology into the Alberta market. Our truck is on the other corner of the exhibition room. I invite you to visit and feel it. Hydra's approach to technology and transportation is something that we call hydrogen internal combustion engine technology. We love fuel cells, but we're not working with fuel cells. Hydra chose to focus on engines. We offer a retrofit system that is reversible and transferable. We don't modify the engine, therefore we're not affecting OEM warranties. And the system has the capacity to displace 40% of diesel fuel at the moment and up to 40% of emissions. It can run up to 1,000 kilometers per day with 24 kilograms of hydrogen. The retrofit system basically has three components. It has a hydrogen storage in the back of the cabin. It has a mechanical device that injects hydrogen with air into the engine for co-combustion to occur. And it has a computer. It's a system, a proprietary system developed by Hydra, a computer that has software which controls the hydrogen injection across the different drive cycles of the truck. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm going to be standing by the truck, and we're really excited that for the next few months, we will be offering a truck for carriers in Alberta to field, to demonstrate, and of course, we will also have technical staff to assist you with any questions during trials. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Laura. And it's important to see when we look at the technology in hydrogen of where it can be applied to combustion engines, to non-combustion engines, we need to make sure that we're serving all the needs to have the diverse energy that Alberta is able to deliver. So with that, I'd like to bring up Philip Gerritsen. He's the Director of Operations with Fueling Solutions with Nikola. Philip?
Thank you very much. I'm Philippe Gerritsen, Director of Customer Fueling Solutions here at Nikola. We're very excited to be a part of the Canadian Hydrogen Convention here. Created a great opportunity for us to announce the development of our hydrogen production hub in partnership with TC Energy that will support the hydrogen ecosystem for the rollout of our hydrogen fuel cell trucks. These trucks are fully zero emissions out of the tailpipe and will be powered through low carbon hydrogen fuel supplies that we're very excited to develop here in Alberta and be able to allow us to have a seamless transition for local fleets working with AMTA and their pilot program to facilitate customer demonstrations where we can truly prove to those customers that we have a truck that can enable a seamless transition from existing diesel vehicles without sacrificing economics or performance, and really enable zero emission transportation solutions that can get going in short order. We expect to have our Tre fuel cell day cab available in the US market at the end of 2023, and then we'll be rolling out our Canadian variant in 2024. We're anticipating having 70 kilograms of onboard hydrogen fuel supply at 700 bar. That'll facilitate up to 500-mile range for those day cab trucks that really start to enable the metro regional operations of these vehicles within local fleets uses. To support the adoption of those hydrogen fuel cell trucks, we're building out a hydrogen fueling network that will support the applications throughout the major freight corridors in Alberta, as well as focused on other areas of Canada, including British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec. And so we're very excited to be able to showcase this truck here today as our first demonstration to the local fleets about what it looks like, and on Friday we'll be doing a ride and drive event with several fleets to prove to them the performance capabilities and the great acceleration and torque that you get with the electric motors. And then we're very excited to be a part of the AMTA's ride demonstration where we'll be showcasing our truck for a year in actual operations with customers here in Canada, to follow up on the demonstrations that we've already been doing with customers such as Anheuser-Busch in the Los Angeles area, where we currently have two fuels already in real-world operations. So thank you very much to AMTA, and we look forward to the continued partnership as we try to show these local fleets what our trucks can really do. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Philippe. And the importance of these partnerships and the ways that we can move forward to bring our industry forward with the technology available is imperative to accelerating that process. So we're very excited, and thank you for being part of it. With that, are there any questions that anyone has? I believe we have a microphone around here. Does anyone have any questions for either Laura, Philippe, or myself on this project? All right, well, hearing none, again, I can't emphasize enough, the AMTA is very thankful to have partners such as Nikola and Hydra at the table here to be able to bring to industry what maybe they wouldn't have the opportunity otherwise to do, and especially in a northern environment, in a place that, you know, we see as we know down in the southern states, we see a lot of this technology come up, but the opportunity to try it in the climate that we have, the heavy weights that we have, as well as being, the longer distances that we need. So having these partnerships and the collaborations to bring this technology to the forefront is key to the success of our industry. So I'd like to thank you all, and I will turn it over to Chris. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chris. That was really well done. And it's an exciting announcement, so congratulations, Laura. Congratulations, Philippe. Again, that's just the first session of what we're running here all day long. We're going to take a quick break, show a little video from AMTA, and then we're going to do a little walk around the show floor, so stay tuned.
Transportation has always been about the future, moving hopes, expectations, and opportunities into the present. Alberta's commercial transportation industry drives economic growth, moving the province and Canada's economy forward, making a difference in a world increasingly connected and complex. With focus on protecting our livelihood by leading our industry to pathways of opportunities, we're ready to define the future by embracing technology and innovation, because transportation has never been more important. We deliver goods and services that move in tandem with vast information and the data flowing from digitization. As the world moves faster, we'll not only keep the pace, we'll set it. With smarter sources of energy, new modes of transportation, and the power of big data. Because commercial drivers are at the center of this revolution. We are the connectors, the movers, and carriers. We are the heart of the new global network. As the front line of transportation and logistics, we are the network of people that keeps you connected to the world. And we're powering on.
And we're back. So again, welcome and thanks for joining us here at the Edmonton Region Hydrogen Hub booth as part of the Canadian Hydrogen Convention, the largest hydrogen convention in North America. If you started with us at the beginning, you just watched a great announcement with AMTA on hydrogen and transportation. We were able to keep Chris Nash, the president of AMTA, with us, and we're going to do a little bit of a walk and show you just a little bit of the space here that's going on. And while the main conference is sold out, if you happen to be in the Edmonton region today and tomorrow, there are still tickets to get into the exhibit. So have a look at that and come down and join us. So Chris, thanks for sticking around.
Absolutely, thanks for having us. This is a fantastic event, a great inaugural event, and we're looking forward to seeing more today.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, inaugural is the key word. We've got this here for the next 10 years. Already it's the biggest show in North America. And our goal is to make it the biggest hydrogen show in the world in that 10-year time frame.
Absolutely, and it's definitely supported by what Alberta can bring to the table to be able to advance the hydrogen technology.
Yeah, totally agree. So let's start walking. So right now we're inside the Edmonton Region Hydrogen Hub space. And again, we think we've built a pretty cool footprint. One of the things we've got in here is a video that we've built with Run With It Synthetics. And we're going to hear more from them a little later in the show. But we've modeled out using the synthetic data, the Edmonton region and the hydrogen economy from today till about 2050. So it's looking at things like talent, energy uses, all kinds of things. One of the real keys is transportation. If we're going to decarbonize the world, which we have to do, transportation is going to be one of the key pieces. And heavy haul is one of the trickier ones. Can you just talk a little bit about what AMTA is doing?
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, our industry is one of the larger emitters, of course, with all the kilometers traveled in a day just to get the goods and the people moved around to where they need to be. The AMTA understands that the way to look at finding success for 2030 and 2050 is going to be around that development of technology to get to that net zero. When we look at different energy and technology, the education that goes along with it, we need all the stakeholders at the table. It can't just be on the supply side trying to make it. We need the users, we need the people that are actually operating it, everyone to be at the table in the development to see the success of this going forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just curious, there's a lot of talk about, especially in passenger vehicles, about electricity. Heavy haul, electricity might be a solution, but hydrogen is more likely going to be there. Can you just kind of talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. When we look at a solution, and sometimes we get caught up in camps. It's electrification, it's hydrogen, it's whatever it is. The reality is everything fits its need. And when we look at the hydrogen world and the need for that in electrification, is when you are a driver out on, say, the Alaska Highway, you need to refuel. You don't want to be recharging for an amount of time. However, when you look at the other opportunities, if it's a come back every night and park your vehicle, it fits that. But when you get to the long haul transportation to get people and goods to the places they need to be, we need that quick turnaround time, and hydrogen fits that.
Yeah, perfect. Let's start walking over. Speaking about heavy haul, we've got a truck here from Nikola that's a hydrogen fuel cell, large vehicle. Yeah. Again, if you want to come down here in person, it's a pretty cool thing to see. I've actually never seen like a semi-truck, a big truck that's hydrogen fuel cell. I actually didn't know that was a thing yet. So it's pretty exciting we've got this.
Absolutely. When we look at this, and that's the exciting part, AMTA just making the announcement for the hydrogen demonstration. Yeah. When we can bring this technology for folks to be able to try exactly what you're feeling. It's all been talked about, but it hasn't actually been touched, felt, tested to see what it works in our climate, in our weights, in all our distances. So having that ability just accelerates our industry to be able to adopt this kind of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So we should have Elizabeth from Nikola joining us here in just a second. I'm just going to see if I can see her. Oh, here she is. Elizabeth, come on over and join us.
Hi.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Great to meet you.
It's great to see you. Yeah, Chris is going to lend you the mic.
Awesome. Good to see you, Chris. Yeah.
Okay, so Elizabeth, you guys have brought this truck up here from California. Can you just talk a little bit about your overall exhibit and what Nikola's up to?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks so much. We appreciate you guys hosting us here and having a chance to be up here at the inaugural convention. So Nikola is focused on zero-emission vehicles. So we have both battery and fuel cell electric trucks. This is a fuel cell electric truck, obviously here with the hydrogen conference. So we're up here. We've got partnerships with TC Energy. Hopefully you saw the announcement this morning on Crossfields, which we are very, very excited about. But we're trying to cover the whole ecosystem because we understand this is a really complex transition that we're trying to do. I always often talk about the three-legged stool, right? There's the vehicle, there's the fuel, and the infrastructure. And so we want to make sure that as we're building out our partnerships, as we're building out our capabilities, that we can bring all of that to our customers and help them with that transition. So we're up here helping educate customers on how we think that can happen. In fact, I was just talking to somebody about why you want to just go straight into hydrogen all the way versus doing hybrids. But yeah, we're very excited to be here.
Well, and that's an interesting idea, because there was a lot of talk about dual fuels and blending hydrogen with diesel, but you can actually go full on hydrogen fuel cell today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the truck we'll show you here in just a second actually has been on the road in California, as you mentioned, in trial with Anheuser-Busch, so pulling beer loads, which, those
Precious
of us
cargo.
in Canada are very excited about. In fact, we pulled a load of beer, for the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
So these trucks are on the road now. This is one of our alphas, so it is still in trial with Anheuser-Busch, but yeah, we like to talk about the future is now.
Yeah, that's a great partnership to have. And, this display behind us, this is actually what you tow behind the truck. So it's not just something you build, this is the mobile studio.
This is a mobile studio. Now, we didn't pull it, I need to be honest, we did not pull it from California up here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, going back to the infrastructure and fuel, that's not available yet.
Okay.
But it's certainly something our truck can pull. I mean, these are Class 8 semis ready to be on the road pulling loads.
Okay, so we need to get those fuel stations moving. Speaking of the truck, I think everybody's probably pretty anxious to see the truck. So let's start walking over to it. And, for anybody who's watching online, there's a lot of people here.
A lot of people here. It's an exciting day.
It's very exciting. So we're moving slow, partly because we've got to navigate through the thousands of people that are at this show. We're expecting about 4,000 people to be at this.
Wow.
So again, it is the largest hydrogen show in North America, which is pretty cool. All right, so we're just going to come up here and have a look. Excuse us here, guys. All right, so this is the Nikola vehicle. Can you tell us just a little bit about it, Elizabeth?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a Class 8 vehicle. Currently, it is built for U.S. Gross vehicle weight, so up to 82,000 pounds. We're really anxious to start looking at what we can do for the Canadian market with the higher payload and gross vehicle weight exemptions. So this is a fuel cell truck.
Okay.
Whether you're talking about a battery truck or a fuel cell truck, it basically is an electric truck, so very similar powertrain. This does have batteries, but they're there just as supplementary power, just to help the fuel cell when needed. Often when you look at older designs of fuel cell trucks, the fuel cell would create the electricity, it would go into the batteries and then into the motor. With a truck like this and the demands of a truck like this in operation, basically that cycle can't keep up with those demands. So with us, the fuel cell will generate the power and it'll go straight into the e-axle to drive the truck. And then the battery is there to help when needed. So it'll take in regen power when needed. It'll also supplement, if you're doing a heavy load, you're going up a long grade, those types of things, that's when the battery kicks in.
Okay, so kind of comparable then to like a gas hybrid, but just using hydrogen and hybrid.
Sort of, except there's not a hybrid.
Right.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. As long as you as long as you know that the two can run in parallel, right? And it's not kind of going, like I said, it's not going from the fuel cell into the battery, then into the motor.
Right.
The fuel cell is the main power plant of the truck.
How many of these do you have on the road?
Right. Well, now that this one's up here, because we borrowed it,
right.
We have 2 that have been on the road in tests. We have several that are on tracks doing all kinds of validation testing, both internally with Nikola as well as with some of our development partners. Okay. But we have 2 on the road in customer tests right now. Okay.
And I understand you're doing some demos later in the week.
We are on Friday. We have several fleets coming out to a racetrack near the airport. So we're super excited to get people in the truck and be able to ride along. Because the experience in a truck like this, an electric truck, is so different than from a diesel truck, right? Just the smooth operation, the quiet operation. The drivers that we've had in there, it's interesting because a lot of them are skeptical. This is new technology, right? So they get in pretty skeptical, but when they come out, it's all smiles. Yeah, I bet. All smiles.
Well, it's a pretty cool design. I mean, just to look at it, this big flat front, there's no engine sitting off the front. It looks like a pretty powerful vehicle just to look at it.
It's a very powerful vehicle, and that's one of the things the drivers love is with the electric drivetrain, just the power and the torque. It is a cab over, which we haven't seen in North America for many years. Except for I was just talking to somebody who is driving a cab over because they have a super long. They're doing a B-train truck. But we're excited to bring this back because especially as you start talking about early applications that are probably more urban, the visibility and the maneuverability of a vehicle like this is far better than what you would see with a conventional. And so drivers like that as they're driving around in kind of tighter urban environments. And you aren't, like you said, you're not sitting on top of a rumbling, smelly diesel engine. There's no doghouse, so there's plenty of room. Drivers can stand up. Drivers love it.
Oh, wow. That's really great.
Yeah.
How many companies are joining the demo that you're doing later in the week?
I believe there's 20.
20. Wow.
20.
And can more sign up if they're interested?
Come talk to me.
Okay.
I'd have to find out, but probably. I'm sure we can probably slip some more in.
Okay. Well, I think you heard that here. If you're interested in joining those demos, if you are a major trucking company, you're looking to refresh your fleet, get a hold of Nicola.
Us. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. And enjoy the rest of the show, and thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Thank
okay,
you.
Chris.
All right, thanks.
We're going to...
Appreciate it. Looking forward to Friday.
It. Yes, absolutely. Maybe I should have said,
yeah.
ask him.
We're looking at about 60 carriers.
Wow,
So
60
it's,
carriers.
it's a full day we're going to have out there. So we're very excited to be able to do that. It's exciting. And your doghouse story about the trucks. So I've been in these. I've got my license. You could sit at dinner for 6 around that doghouse on the diesel of it. It's massive. You're so far away from the other side of their other seat of there. So it's nice to have the open room.
I think it was 6'6" or 6'7". Stood up, was totally comfortable. The comfort, and it's actually a European sleeper. So but it's operating in a day cab environment. So you think about current day cabs where the truck goes right down, behind somebody. The room in here, and so if you're spending any time in detention, we have some of these trucks. The battery trucks are running in port dray operations. So if you're stuck on the port for 2-3 hours waiting for a load, you can sit back in the back and kind of lay out and be much more comfortable. So. The dog, they love not having a doghouse. It was
massive,
Do not like having it. So, this is awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I see as we're standing here talking that people are going in and out of it and having a look. I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to.
You need to. Just remember, 3 points of contact. 3 points of contact. Safety first.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks again, Elizabeth.
All right, thanks.
Okay, enjoy the show.
See you Friday.
You betcha. You bet.
So this is super exciting, Chris. Again, there's so much happening here. And I know we've got another session we're doing with you in a minute. But we're going to walk over next and have a quick conversation with Explore Edmonton.
Perfect.
So I'm going to take that mic back from you. Again, thanks so much. We'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so again, this is the Canadian Hydrogen Convention, the largest show in North America on hydrogen. We've got about 4,000 people who have joined us from all over the world. We've got, I think, 19 international delegations, with some of them as many as 20 or 30 people from countries around the world. And they're here again for 2 days, plus we also have a third day that we're doing with the Alberta's Industrial Heartland Association, doing tours of many of the facilities that are there, as well as the carbon sequestration abilities that exist in our region that are pretty unique. So we're just about to join here with the team from Explore Edmonton. It's going to walk a touch faster. So Steph, can I come in and interrupt your team? Hey, how are you?
Hi. Oh, hey, Chris.
Hey, nice to see you.
It's so good to see you.
So we're here now with the team from Explore Edmonton. This is the Edmonton Region's tourism group. They actually own and run the convention center that we're in right now. Can you just tell me a little bit about the show and just the scale of what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. This has just been so exciting when I walked in this morning to see everyone here and the energy that it's bringing. So this hydrogen convention has been in the works, and it's creating about $2 million in economic impact for our city, which is just absolutely phenomenal. As you know, the hydrogen sector has really been taking off. There's so much potential with the sector, with hydrogen, and I think we're really all here to just learn and understand where it will take us with this emerging sector. So
yeah, absolutely, and I'd say too, Edmonton Global played a lead role in building this and making it happen, but we could not have done it without Explore Edmonton. Your team has just been fantastic partners, and we started this with the conversation we had with DMG on September 1st
yes.
of this year.
of
2021,
September,
which
yes.
is not very
Not
long
far,
ago.
not
So
that
to go
long.
from an idea to actually having a conference in about 8 months, having 4,000 or so people here, pretty amazing.
It's just phenomenal, and that really goes to show just what partnerships can do and where it can bring us to where we are today. So that's fantastic. So.
Absolutely. Well, I know you mentioned the $2 million in economic impact.
Yes.
I think that's direct. When you take the direct, indirect,
Yes.
and induced, I think we're around 3.5,
Oh,
3.6
I'm
million.
sure and with the 3,000 to 4,000 people, it's gone beyond that. I'm sure as well as you look at the
fantastic.
figures. So it's really exciting. I would love to tell you more about what's happening in Edmonton.
Sure. Well, I think Kaylin's got a little bit of that here too.
Exactly.
Right?
So I'd like to pass it along to her.
Okay.
She can tell you all about that.
Okay. Thanks so much. Okay. So, what's going on around the Edmonton and the Edmonton region?
Well, first off, we are so thrilled to have you all here in Edmonton, and we encourage you to explore as much as possible during your stay. So we do have some tips for you looking to explore Edmonton. So we recommend you check out one of our amazing restaurants, either downtown or on White Avenue. And Explore Edmonton actually has some discount saving passes. So if you're looking to support our local businesses, check out exploreedmonton.com and our discount passes for Old Strathcona and for the downtown area. You can also immerse yourself in the arts by going to the Art Gallery of Alberta, just close by. Or why not check out one of our amazing trails at the River Valley? Enjoy the outdoors while we've got some great weather. But simply put, there's no shortage of things to do in the city. And at exploreedmonton.com, we've got lots more recommendations. Or you can give us an email at info@exploreedmonton.com, and we'll be sure to give you the best recommendations so you can enjoy your stay here.
Okay. Thanks so much. And I'd say most people who are tuning in probably have never been to the Edmonton region. Maybe you've never heard of the Edmonton region. So we're about 1.4 million people.
Yep.
There's about 14 municipalities that make up the region. And one of the things that really unites this whole space is the River Valley.
Yes.
Just the piece that's inside Edmonton, is, 20 or 25 times the size of Central Park?
22 times the size of Central Park in New York City. So the River Valley, we are working really hard to activate that space so that it becomes more accessible to not only locals but visitors. One of my favorites is checking out either the Walterdale Bridge and the trails nearby there. You get to check out the North Saskatchewan River, and you can even rent scooters and segways. So if you like a bit more of the fast-paced sort of exploring, you can do that as well. But either way, we've got some beautiful sunsets, sunrises, you name it, and we just hope you enjoy it.
Okay, thanks so much. And I'll say too, just talking about the river, last summer there was 2 different days where it was in Celsius, high 30s, low 40s.
Oh, yeah.
And people tend to think about Edmonton as being a little bit further north. We certainly do get our share of winter, but we get a wonderful spring, nice hot summers, gorgeous falls.
Yeah.
It really is a place that has all 4 seasons.
We really are a 4-season destination, and we take pride in the festivals that we have all year round. So no matter the time of year, there is a festival that you can enjoy. We take pride in especially our winter festivals, Deep Freeze. You can explore some ice sculptures. You can interact with local businesses, check out some parades. Yes, so we definitely want visitors to come no matter the time of year. And we're here to help.
Yeah, sounds great. And I'd say too, one of the highlights for me is Fort Edmonton Park. So
Yes.
Fort Edmonton is this living history museum that's really large. They've just opened a new Indigenous experience, and that Indigenous experience is it's incredibly powerful, very moving.
Yep.
So just, we've got arts, we've got culture, we've got sports. We're taking some of the group to the Oilers game tomorrow night. But also, if you really want to connect with the meaning and the history of this place, you can do that here too.
Absolutely. We've got it covered. Fort Edmonton Park is opening very soon. They were closed for the winter season, but the Indigenous experience you can't miss it. You can even ride one of their steam trains across the park there, and that's another way to explore the River Valley as well.
Okay, wonderful. And I'll just say too that from the Edmonton region, I think we're a half a day's drive from
5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites.
That's right.
Just down the road, again, about 3 hours, is Jasper National Park.
Yep.
The largest national park, I believe, in Canada.
Yep.
And it's, it is just an absolutely magical place.
That's one of the great things about our city is there are a ton of day trip opportunities nearby. So whether you're checking out Elk Island National Park or you're heading down to Jasper, it's not too much of a trek away. And all of a sudden you're in the mountains and you're checking out a brand new landscape, and then you can come back to Edmonton. So lots to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And again, if anybody's coming down and wants to learn more about what to see and do across the Edmonton region, even in places like Jasper, please come and visit with the team here at Explore Edmonton. We worked with Jasper Tourism, Travel Alberta, and Explore Edmonton to build a pretty cool little video about that connection between the Edmonton region and Jasper National Park, and here it is up next.
Walking up into a mountain where we fall asleep, holding on to a little bit of love, waking in sunshine, cold air, feeling fine, high, lost my mind, holding on to a little bit of love. Smile's getting bigger, I'm still trying to figure out if I should keep holding on to a little bit of love. Fall, leaves falling down, back to another rough year on the ground. I'm airplane bound, holding on to a little bit of love.
Welcome back. Again, I'm Chris McLeod with Edmonton Global. We're here at the Canadian Hydrogen Convention inside the Edmonton Region Hydrogen Hub booth. And you can get a bit of a sense of just how much activity is going on right here. And again, while the conference is sold out, there are still some tickets for the exhibition. So if you want to come down and join us in person, you do have a little bit of time. This morning, we're really focusing on the challenges that are present around decarbonizing and turning heavy haul and long trucking vehicles into hydrogen. Our next panel is with AMTA, and Amanda Musluk is hosting that for us. And Amanda, over to you.
Hi, great, thanks. So I have here with me today some of the founders and collaborators of AMTA's Azatec project. This project is looking to be demonstrated on Alberta roads starting in 2023. I have Colin Armstrong here with HTEC, the president and CEO. I have AMTA's president and my leader, Chris Nash, and I have Marcel Pouliot, the lead consultant for IQ Trucking. So I'm going to kind of start it off, bring us back a few years to where Azatec came from and what kind of spurred this really innovative, first of its kind project here in Alberta.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. The project really started in 2017 when University of Calgary, the Caesar group, which done Canadian energy research, reached out to the MTA to have a discussion about the potential of hydrogen in the supply chain. And was very appropriate because that was also the time where the OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, the truck manufacturers, were starting to showcase their first marketable prototypes for battery electric drive trucks. And we had a lot of concerns about them because they were great for first and last mile, but not for heavy trucking. So those two impetus together is really what launched the idea of the Azatec project, and then led to the submission for some funding from Emissions Reductions Alberta.
Yeah, great. And maybe this question is more for you, Chris, but how are you working side by side with HTEC and stakeholders in large to design and implement and operate these Azatec trucks?
Absolutely. When we really think about how this came together, and Marcella was a great explanation of how what we learned from this as an association as we evolved was the importance of the collaboration to be able to come out with solutions. So having the OEMs, having the partners there, having industry have a say in it, it was really exciting when it started because the day that we had the announcement for this, everybody wanted to be a part of it. And really that solidified the need to be able to work with partners like HTEC. We have Ballard, we have Dana, our funders, ERA, everybody together to put these solutions forward, to have this accelerate the movement towards a greener world in our high-emitting industry.
Yeah, so HTEC, you're really driving a lot of the technology, specifically on the infrastructure side, to support the Azatec trucks. What are some of the basic techniques we need or new innovations we need to reduce cost and make this more approachable and to build out the demand for hydrogen and heavy-duty transportation?
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. So just to put it in context, we've actually been at this for a while, almost 20 years. And when we heard about the Azatec project forming, we definitely wanted to be part of that because it's an opportunity for us to continue the learning we've been doing over the 20 years. So when you ask about driving the cost, the main rhetoric is about volume and going large scale. But there's actually, you need to think about that in the context of the smaller bits and pieces as well. So we have to put quite the workforce together. So we need to scale up our workforce as well, not just the volumes. We need to scale up the supply chains, whether it's the equipment for the compressor or the hydrogen dispensing units. There's a lot of scaling up that needs to be done on that small part of the bits and pieces. So I sort of encourage people to think broader on the term of scaling up, and I think the Azatec project is looking at that in a number of different fronts.
Great, and that's a lot of opportunities I see for the ecosystem as a whole and all the players, but what are some of the trade-offs that we're making right now and that hopefully we won't have to moving forward in terms of building out not just the demand side but the supply side to support these types of demonstrations? Are you looking at, trade-offs in the supply chain, trade-offs around product design, clarity, or are we right there right now with technology innovation?
Well, one of the interesting things was when we first started and conceived the project, they really wanted hydrogen to be supplied from Alberta, and there's huge amounts generated, as everybody knows, but there wasn't actually a purified and compressed stream available. So we had to make a bit of a trade-off to invest in a smaller scale as opposed to a large scale, because it wasn't quite there yet. But I think it was worth it. So Suncor felt comfortable going into a smaller operation. It just felt less impactful, but huge impact on the learning side of it. So I think there's a trade-off on that, is a sort of a good way to talk about one of the project trade-offs. Other technology, vehicles aren't readily available, right? So you have to round up the partners and you have to decide on how far you progress it down that commercial scale on the vehicle side. And that's taken a lot of team effort to do that, a lot of input from yourself on that, eh?
Well, actually, from a trade-off point of view, AZTEC was very, very important to help set the standards for Canada. The reality is that Alberta and Canada have much higher road vehicle weights than the large markets for the truck manufacturers. The United States operates at less than 40,000 kilograms. And when I say that, it's gross vehicle weight. So it's the weight of the truck plus the cargo. Alberta, most of Canada, operates at 63,500 kilograms. And the equipment that was being designed back then really did not address the higher drives that countries like Alberta, or provinces like Alberta, or countries like Canada, Australia, and other places had. And we did not want to be stuck with a less technology that would not really replace the trucking that we do today. That would have been very negative for the supply chain. So one of the things that AZTEC we were able to do is to approach OEMs and our partners who said, you know what, we have that in our engineering development about 5 or 7 years down the road. We're going to move that up and assist with that. So that was one of the compromises that we were able to eliminate. Because at the end of the day, the supply chain relies on a total cost of ownership for trucking that supports our economy. And hopefully AZTEC played a role in will continue to play a role in proving that that is needed. And I think so we're not talking about compromises. I think it was more a question of we motivated people to accelerate their development for what we need to support a supply chain in Canada today.
And I think we're seeing some of those fruits of your labor here today on the floor with the Hydra track and the Nikola track. That's opened up a lot of doors for AMTA, Chris. Can you talk a little bit more about future demonstrations or other projects that AMTA is looking in terms of hydrogen for long-haul trucking?
No, absolutely. It's really exciting. Again, I go back to, we have the technology that we see down south. It works with the warm weather. It works with the nice road lines, all the different things that we look at, and even with energy. When we look at what's needed to run in this environment, these weights, the importance of not only testing, developing, proving it here in Alberta with energy provided from the diversification in Alberta to not only fit our solutions, but it's something that can be marketed anywhere in the world. And what that has done is the more folks that want to be involved with this, we've had the spin-offs where we're going to have the first hydrogen fueling center in Alberta in Edmonton, as well as mobile fueling to be able to support some of the other projects going on when we look at people moving, when we look at other forms of transportation. So being involved in that and having all the players at the table is very exciting to be able to develop these projects.
Awesome. And from AMTA's members' perspective, what are some of the questions that still need to be answered and that our innovation department and industry advancement projects are hoping to accomplish?
Well, I think it's proving it. When we look at even simple technology, when we went from a manual transmission to an automatic transmission, that was a big deal. So the ability to be able to introduce this technology to industry at a no risk. That's probably the biggest part. So seeing what's going on Friday, where we'll be demonstrating with Nikola the truck out at the Rad Torque Raceway, that ability to touch, feel, see how it fits, in addition to being able to test it in the longer term on longer tests to bring in all sorts of different technologies at no risk, will help foster that the questions that happen, it won't work here, it won't fit for that, when we can show it actually does and have everyone at the table to develop it and create the ecosystem to support it. For, you know, you look at if there's a collision with a hydrogen vehicle, what does a first responder do when they get there? It's not typical to what happens with a regular combustion engine. So, you know, all of these are parts of the development to help adopt this and accelerate the movement towards a greener world.
I can chip in there. I think one of the things is it changes the conversation from why it won't work to what can we do with this new technology. And that's super important when people see it, touch it, feel it. It really completely changes that conversation. Super important for the first steps.
And the other thing they've done, I think it raised awareness at all levels of the ecosystem. I'm talking government, I'm talking companies, as to the role. Why should trucking be the anchor for this technology? And the reason why is the average person who owns a car in Canada today purchases 40 liters of gasoline or diesel per week on average. The average highway truck uses 300 liters per work shift. So it's somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 liters used. So it also helped raise the awareness for all of these parties to say, well, do we help support the transition of 100,000 heavy trucks in Canada or 5 million cars to reach the same greenhouse gas emissions decrease? And so it really included heavy trucking into all of these conversations, the ecosystem, because prior to ACETEC, we were a bit on the sidelines waiting for someone to come up with a solution for us.
Okay, so in March this year, the government released the emissions reduction plan. So that's 45% reduction for our 2005 levels of our GHG. So that's our COPA 21 goals. And the plan included a 20% reduction of new light-duty vehicle sales by 2026. So you spoke a little bit about EVs and hydrogen and zero emissions mobility, but why is hydrogen posed as such a positive solution for long-haul trucking? Can you talk about range or weight or fueling times?
Well, I think, when we look at the ability to keep vehicles moving, where if your wheels aren't turning, you're not earning, so to speak, right? You have your revenue to make on the trucks. So depending on the application, on equipment that can come back to your location every day and charge, that fits from a purely EV perspective. But when you have a driver that's out and about rural Alberta, the Alaska Highway, or anywhere, the ability to be able to fuel and continue moving is where hydrogen has its fit. And I think the importance is it's not going to be a one or the other. It's going to be how it all contributes to that greener future for everyone on what fits best on the application. And hydrogen gives you that quick turnaround and ability to keep moving.
Yeah, our side comes in certainly on the fueling. So we want to make sure that the fueling is where people need it. It's got the robustness and it's as fast as the diesel side of things. So they don't have to change their operational thinking on it.
Electric trucks are out there in the market now. They're excellent for last mile delivery, meaning, you know, not a lot of driving, a lot of loading and unloading and deliveries. But the highway trucks, they have to run, and they run a lot. So that is where the hydrogen, because at the end of the day, a hydrogen truck is still an electric drive truck, except the electricity is produced on board through the hydrogen fuel cell as opposed to stored on board on a battery. So that's really the difference. And it's back to what Chris says, it really depends on the application. So we are going to have a mix of fleets in the very near future here.
And it is a weight differential too from the energy on board. So the batteries are certainly more heavy for per kilometer, but obviously if you only need to drive 5 kilometers, it's radically different, right? So the hydrogen system, being the tank and the fuel cell, is certainly lighter than the battery when you're talking 400 or 500 kilometers, 600 kilometer range.
And that's important, right, for the industry, because it's all gross weight factors that need to come into play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It really amounts to the quantity of material that you're able to deliver. So trucking has worked very, very hard to lighten trucks over the years. And you make decisions of if this part or that part is 70 kilograms difference, well, that's 70 kilograms of payload more for the vehicle. And the impacts of some of the first prototypes that had significant range, that battery electric, you were talking of a penalty of 8 to 10 to 12,000 kilograms on the vehicle. So really, half of the payload was the battery system, as opposed to what the cargo should have been. And however, for city delivery trucks, that is not that much of an issue. Batteries are significantly lighter if you only need to do 200 kilometers a day between recharges. So.
And then that's the importance of projects like AZTEC. When we look at, go back in the day, the cell phone that pretty much everyone is carrying today is what the power had on the first space shuttle. So if we start somewhere and start working towards this, it's only going to get better, but we have to start somewhere.
Yeah, and pilots like this project are kind of leading the path and driving this forward. Going back to that emissions reduction plan and 60% by 2030 and 100% by 2035. So from a transportation sector, do you think we can get there?
Well, I think if we're driving forward with projects like this, it's attainable. The challenge that we have is we have 98% of our carriers registered just in Alberta alone are 3 trucks and under. So the opportunity to drive data for decision making based on technology like this is critical for adoption. So if we can keep that moving, give that infrastructure to support it, and give the data and information to move towards it, the adoption, it makes it reasonable to be 2050 to be able to meet the targets.
I think speak for the whole fuel supply side of the industry,
Yeah.
but I think we certainly feel we can be ready to get to 2 or 3 things, right? There's low carbon intensity, there's reasonable cost, and distributed fueling points. So we believe we can get there when we look and hear all the partners from Air Products. That feels attainable on our side of it. So on the trucking side,
So on the trucking side, yes, I think it's very attainable. The trucking manufacturers in North America produce about 300,000 heavy trucks per year, which is the demand from the market. And as I say, electric trucks are being marketed now, battery electric trucks. Hydrogen, definitely it'll be somewhere around 2026 to 2028 will be the full market size of them. And they're spending billions of dollars in developing that technology as we speak today. So there will be some offerings available. If the hydrogen is available to fuel the trucks, I think the trucks will be there. And the carriers are already committed to maintaining the supply chain. And we truly believe that AZTEC will prove that from a total cost of ownership perspective, it will be comparative. So.
Awesome. So just going back to the value chain before we kind of end today's discussion, how is AMTA supporting carriers in their purchasing power in that value chain? Traditionally, when we look at supply, distribution, demand, a lot of the techno-economics sit on the supply and distribution side. It's very lucrative for energy companies and fueling stations. But how are we in Alberta supporting carriers to not just have a seat at the table, but maybe a piece of the table?
Absolutely. And that really is the focus on that collaboration standpoint when we go forward as AMTA. The ability to bring stakeholders to the table from industry to say, what do you need? How can we make that connection to the folks out there on the supply side to say, hey, this is what we need, this is where we need it, this is the technology we need for it. When we get everyone at that table to develop that, it only accelerates that opportunity. And we seem to be the table to do that in an environment that if it's marketable, if it's tested, proven, designed, everything here and proven, it's marketable anywhere in the world, and it solves the problems that we have in the transportation world to get to our GHG emission targets.
Awesome.
I'm going to go back to the people side of it, and I think, Chris, you told me one time to attract drivers. The electric drivetrain, the hydrogen drivetrain is more exciting, so it's going to be easier to find new drivers. It's the same for us on the supply side. We actually haven't had a challenge finding people. Everyone's super excited to come and work in a new sector. So I think if you go back to the people side of it, I think both sides will have a benefit from new, clean, sort of sustainable path forward if you're picking a career choice as a young person. I think it'll really help on both sides.
Yeah, from the retention and the recruitment piece.
Exactly, super important.
No, absolutely. And also, let's not forget that trucking firms, we transport materials for other people in the supply chain. And we're starting to see more discussions with our clients, the client base, about ESG, environment emissions, those types of things. So there's a will not only within the trucking industry, but also for the clients of the trucking industry to pursue a zero carbon emission. And I think that's all very, very positive for the future here.
Yeah, it sounds very positive. Lots of exciting things happening. Thank you all for joining us today at the Edmonton Hydrogen Hub, and look forward to talking more.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Amanda and the team at AMTA. You know, collaboration was a theme we heard over and over and over this morning. Really, that's what it's going to take to help decarbonize all that's going on in that heavy haul sector. Again, I'm Chris McLeod with Edmonton Global. We're here at the Edmonton Region Hydrogen Hub exhibit as part of the Canadian Hydrogen Convention. You get a bit of a sense of just the layout and the scale of what's happening here. Again, we are Canada's largest hydrocarbon producing region. We've got some really cool things happening all across the exhibit floor. Feel free to come on down. Again, while the main conference is sold out, there are still tickets available for the exhibit. So if you happen to be here in the Edmonton region, you can check out what's happening at the Government of Alberta booth, the Invest in Canada booth, the Explore Edmonton, that Nikola truck that we showed you earlier. There's really just a ton happening. Thanks so much for joining us for the very first morning of the Canadian Hydrogen Convention. We're back in the afternoon at about 1:30, so in about 35 minutes for a full afternoon of program. And again, we're back again tomorrow. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.